I've got the Elite Full Tilt Infinity bottle because we could have scored infinity points on TCU.
Welcome to My Got It Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I review Georgia's 65-7 win over TCU to become the first team to ever win back-to-back college football playoff national championships. As always, remember to check out store.mygotapodcast.com to see our latest merch. And you can follow us on social media at My Got It Podcast. Finally, we'd love for you to check out our presenting sponsor, Oxia Time, at oxiatime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. Now, let's join the conversation in progress. In true fashion, John, the national championship game also went just as we predicted.
We're nothing if not consistent.
Oh man,
just like we thought. It was going to be over by the second quarter.
In my wildest dreams, I could not have imagined that happening. I mean, like, come on. Dude.
I guess I kind of thought that this might happen. Like I definitely feel like that there was a world where this could happen,
where we blew them out, but by 58 points.
Yeah, not 58 points. Not the largest margin, the largest margin of victory in bowl history. That's insane.
Yes. I think 17 points was the most points ever in the first quarter of a CFP championship game. And I think 35 was the most first half points in a CFP championship game. I mean, it was just nuts.
I mean, we finally had a game. That everything went right for us. And not only that, but the coaches put on a display and basically emptied the clip on a team.
Yeah.
And I feel like that this game, I'm hoping, is like a bellwether or benchmark or whatever for the program as a whole, to basically just like showcase to the college football world the full capacity for this team and this coaching staff to completely grind an opponent into dust moving forward. This is what we've wanted. This is what we've wanted Georgia to do all season long. And it felt like that we could do this at multiple points throughout the season, but we felt like that they were holding back. This was a game where they didn't hold back. And I feel like that they allowed Stetson to basically just like, it was like, just let that boy cook.
And man, did he.
And man, did he cook.
Holy cow. The mailman delivered frankly, like he always does. Oh man. Well, I brought with me tonight, it's just, Weller Special Reserve. I'm drinking out of my, I keep this in my 2021 National Champions decanter. So I figured I'd pour from that tonight. I don't know if I have to get a new one, or I'm not sure. Seems maybe excessive, but ooh, I can see what you've got. Do you want to tell everyone what you have, or should I?
I've got the, hold on.
Nice.
I've got the Elite Full Tilt Infinity bottle because we could have scored infinity points on TCU.
Well played. Oh man.
What a statement. What a statement for the program, I feel like.
It was.
There's good and bad things, right? So like it was the lowest viewed national championship like ever or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Game was over by halftime. If you're an advertiser, an advertiser, like it's like the worst of the worst. Like nobody's watching, and that kind of bared out in some of the data. But I don't care.
I don't care whatsoever.
It was amazing.
I got a text from a buddy of mine that's, like he's more like an NFL fan. But he was watching and like rooting for me or whatever, but he was like, that was the most boring national championship game ever. He's like, that was the worst game. I was like, I would argue it was the best game. On
the contrary, it was amazing.
Yeah, exactly. I loved every second of it. And it was like you said, you had your callback in the preview. to Hug Dog's question from the Peach Bowl, and you had said you would absolutely take a blowout here, and you got it.
Yeah, we got it. We got it.
Man.
Like I said, I think that there was a world that you thought this might happen, that you could see this happening.
Yeah.
I think we probably owe the defense an apology, because
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how we want to start this, but like just generically, just like free flowing here. Like, I should probably apologize to the defense. I should probably. I think we've done this at a few points in the season, but like, you gotta apologize to Keely Ringo. Feel like that he, in the last several games, has played just absolutely like lights out.
Yeah.
Couldn't blame him for some of the things that happened in the Ohio State game. He all phases of the game were just on full display. It's like, you know, it's like TCU was it's like the Rebel Alliance when they showed up to the Death Star and they said that battle station is fully operational.
Nice. Oh man, no,
it's a trap.
Yeah. They all right. I mean, like, TCU wasn't ready. I feel like they had no idea what they were in store for. Their coaches didn't have them ready, and I think Dykes admitted that after the game.
So I think that there were a couple of things that kind of were little breadcrumbs, I feel like, that were dropped along the way. So I think that was it Graham or was it John in our text thread? And I don't know where they got their sources from. I don't remember seeing anything about it, but TCU only had 2 days of contact practice, I believe.
Yeah, I remember seeing that somewhere too. Yeah.
And Georgia basically had full contact practice, full contact to the point of Gunnar Stockton took his shirt off, and said that he wanted to take the hits for the team so that they were ready for this game.
Yeah.
That to me was a huge sign of like, oh,
right.
Not to mention the pregame stuff, which there was apparently a radio interview with DJ Shockley before the game, with Kirby Smart. I haven't heard that audio, I haven't seen it, but apparently there was an interview that Kirby had with DJ, and it was apparently some really good content. And then there were some comments that Eric Zier made after that interview that apparently were like just as good as what Kirby said to Holly pregame when Holly asked him, and I think I tweeted this out, like, you know, Holly basically asked him, like, what are you looking for? And his response was one word: aggression.
Yeah. Yep.
We're going to hunt tonight.
Yeah.
And I said, oh dear Lord, what is going on?
Oh,
and
man.
then after the game, you had the audio, what I believe is from this game. I mean, it sounded every bit like it. Oh,
it's definitely not this game. No.
Okay. Well,
but it was still amazing.
I'd like to pretend that it was, but I would imagine something very similar. I would imagine something very similar would have been said, and if it was anything close to what was said in that speech, we're good. We were good to go.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, and see, so I being there, I didn't know about the we're gonna hunt tonight, the aggression thing.
I know, that's why I was texting you guys. I think I was like, oh my gosh, this is what she said.
So yeah, but on that note, I did just want to say, like, I had a great trip out there. Went with my sister. We met up in Long Beach. We both flew into Long Beach. I met, actually, I'll say, I do want to say also, like, shout out to the TCU fans. Like, they were cool people. They were a lot of fun. I met several of them when I had a layover in the Phoenix airport on my way out there. Very nice. Had a lot of good conversations with them. They seemed like good folks. And they traveled. There was a lot of them. We actually had a conversation about that where one of the guys I was talking to was kind of like, you're the first Georgia guy I've seen. I think we're going to have more people there than you. And I kind of like, I just like politely just said, like, I smiled and I just said, we travel. Like, I didn't want to like laugh at him, but inside I was laughing, and I think I shouldn't have been. They were out in force. I mean, in the stadium, They were loud. They're very loud when they scored their touchdown. So tip of the cap to them. And like I said, they were good folks. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our buddy Greg Fawcett for throwing an amazing tailgate that we all attended. He was able to circumvent the no tailgating and had a spot for us. It was much needed with all the rain because holy cow did it rain. And I'm like, they're in the middle of a drought. And so like everything was like flooding. It was kind of nuts out there. But we had all kinds of tents set up and everything. So kind of went off without a hitch at the tailgate. That was a lifesaver. It was awesome.
That is awesome. I saw that like after you guys left, like there was actually like some sinkholes that opened up and like some natural disaster, like some pretty bad flooding that happened.
Yeah, I bought the LA Times in the airport when I flew out on Tuesday, and yeah, like the front page is all like about like the flooding and everything. So also shout out Josh Mooney for dropping the My God a Podcast house hat in the Verbo house outside the stadium. I know at least one listener saw it and tagged us. Saw it in there, so that was pretty cool being able to meet up with Josh and hand that off, and him getting a little My God a Podcast product placement as folks were walking into the stadium. And like my sister and I just happened across it. Like I didn't get like an idiot. I didn't like get details from Josh when I saw him. Like where is it going to be? But it was right there. Like, we walked right by it. And my sister actually spotted it. Was like, it's the Verbo house, and so we went over. Chat with them for a bit. It was pretty funny. It was pretty awesome.
So maybe I missed this, but like, what did that look like? Like, it was just like a house that people could walk through.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like a full on house. It was like a wall and then some kind of full wall. So it was kind of like a shallow area, but they had like huge TVs up there that had like all the pregame stuff was on there, so you could watch the pregame, hang out and get some info from them about Verbo. And it was like a, kind of like a slice of home type thing. So there was one for the TCU folks, one for the Georgia folks. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So at any rate, so then we did the tailgate. We got there probably 11:30 and then left I don't know, hour and a half or so before kickoff, and was with Keeling was at tailgate, by the way. So one of our fraternity brothers was out there, did dinner. We actually spent the day with him and his brother on Sunday. And then they came to the tailgate, went into the game, and we met up with some old friends, just kind of hanging out pregame, ran into a bunch of people. It was pretty cool. So then headed to our seats. Miss Will Kaplan, unfortunately. We were actually texting during the game, trying to meet up. But the one thing I'll say, like we had talked about the stadium, right? I'll say the stadium was it was cool. I'll say the sight lines were incredible. I think it's a true statement to say there's not a bad seat in the house. The only downside is like, they say like it doesn't rain or, sunny California and all that kind of stuff. The roof leaks. So like there was a lot of water in that place. And after rewatching the broadcast, I mean, you could see it on TV even. I mean, there was water on the cameras. The concourses were an absolute disaster in the second half. Like they were like flooding. I've seen videos that the people were like slipping down and falling and like being carried out. So that's my only complaint about the whole indoor outdoor nature of the stadium. That was kind of weird. So
that sounds amazing. I don't understand. I don't understand that. Like that, just the whole concept of that just seems. This is supposed to be like a state of the art like facility, right? And you got leaking coming in from the roof.
I mean, man. some of it was like water coming in, like because there's no walls, right? Or the roof doesn't have walls, so like the bowl of the stadium kind of ends up being the walls when you're in the seats. But then when you're out in the concourse walking around, there's a lot of water.
Wow.
Yeah, it was weird. I wasn't expecting that. But I guess it. I don't know. I think we were in like an abnormal weather situation, like what you were talking about, right, with the sinkholes and like crazy flooding and everything. So I guess I can kind of get a pass there, but like I don't know, maybe you guys should have made a dome if you. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, anyways. maybe don't do that.
Yeah. So it seemed cool.
I did hear. So Josh, our friend Josh, he works for a company that puts on events and stuff, so he gets to go. I think like their big event was like the Fiesta Bowl, so he was there for the VRBO Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah.
He was posting pictures from what appeared to be the media area. Mm-hmm. I didn't ask him, but I saw his pictures. And and he was very colorful about the description of the stadium and the state of it, because it looked like that there was just water just pouring into that area.
Yeah, man. I mean, like when because we basically like we tried to move and meet up with Adam actually late in the game, and like we went down, we got in the concourse, and it was so wet. Like we were like I think my sister actually like stepped in a puddle and like her shoe got really wet, and we were like, forget this. And so we just went back in and so then we watched like the fourth quarter, well, I don't know, the rest of the fourth quarter, like from some other random seats and so we met other new Georgia fans for the rest of the game. So it was pretty funny.
That's
But
hilarious.
once again, it was like, everyone's your friend in your section and everything. Like there was like I was with my sister, and like across the aisle from us, there was like a mother daughter, like the daughter being like an adult woman with her mom, who's also, so you could say mother daughter or grandma, grandma and mom together, and we were like high-fived them after every score, which was a lot of high-fiving. So I don't know, man. It was good times. It was fun. Completely different experience from last year.
Yeah, seriously.
On so many levels.
Well,
sorry, I digressed into the some of the environment stuff. We can go back to talking about the actual game.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the environment's fun because, like, for many of our listeners that may not have been there, like myself, I had kind of like last minute hopes of maybe trying to make the trip out there, and it just didn't work out. Couldn't line up all the details. So I appreciate all the physical descriptions so that I can at least live somewhat vicariously through everyone. So I'm sure everyone appreciates that. So like things like the VRBO houses, all that kind of stuff is super cool for me to at least see, because that's the kind of stuff you don't get that full experience when you watch at home. So like I talked to my dad about this because my dad's a big prefer to watch it on TV person. It's like, yeah, but it's great and all, but then like you miss some of the nuance.
Yeah, it is. It's funny, right? Because like you miss that, but then also like being there. This one, I feel like, so like last year, I don't know, maybe it's just because it was like last year against Alabama was so tense the whole game that like you were always on the edge of your seat, like clinging on here. Like this one, it was such a blowout that it was like I couldn't catch my breath because like we kept scoring. Like, it was just like things were constantly happening. It's just like I was like, oh my god. I mean, it was like you were just like in this like constant state of euphoria. It's just like you're constantly like, oh, we scored. Oh, we got a turnover. I got to high five everyone. I was like, oh, we scored again. Just like never stopped.
I remember there was so much stuff happening. Like the text thread was blowing up and Twitter was blowing up. People were saying things on Twitter. I remember at one point I was responding to something. I can't remember what it was, but like my wife was like, "Are you watching the game?" I was like, "Yes, yes, I'm aware." But I'm also responding to the people, because that's like, that's, if you're not at the game and you're responding to people that are at the game, like that's
right.
It's like you're there almost.
Oh man, that's too funny.
What a great game from a UGA fan's perspective. I feel like that it also, like, to a certain extent, the level of blowoutness that it was made it that much sweeter for everyone else afterwards, because all you heard was like all the TCU people talking about, or all of the Michigan fans. Like my Michigan buddy texted me and said, "This is a joke. we should have been there."
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that. There's the Bama fans, like, we should have been in the playoff. Like I saw so many, like, you're telling me we couldn't have beat that team. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, like it's so great. Like, I don't know, like that, like it doesn't bother me. Like it actually makes it like more enjoyable to me personally. I just think it's hilarious.
Agree.
Yeah,
I totally agree. It's like, listen, we all knew the rules when we signed up. Everyone lost, and we didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say the only thing. Yes, these are all true statements. Like, I feel like the only thing maybe they could have gone different, and this is funny because you sent me this order today. It was the BCS rankings, or a simulated BCS, right, compared to the committee's rankings, and I think they had Ohio. The BCS would have had Ohio State third, and TCU fourth, from what I recall. Like that's how they would have flipped it. I mean, I think that's about the only thing the committee could have done. And, it was kind of like pick your poison. Like, do you want an awesome? We got two awesome semifinals, and we got a blowout championship. Maybe if they had flipped it around and had Michigan, Ohio State playing a semi, Georgia probably still blows out TCU in the semi. But then maybe you get that great Georgia, Ohio State in the championship game. Although there's no way to know. Like, we don't know. But I think that's the only tweak that maybe the committee kind of got in their own way by trying to avoid a semifinal rematch, is my opinion. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, the college football got what they deserved / needed, I guess. Because at the end of the day, all the same teams would have been in this same situation. Yeah. Just insert different team, different place. TCU played Michigan super duper close. Michigan on that day happened to play probably, I guess you would probably describe it, and my buddy would probably describe it as the worst game of the entire season.
Right. Right.
And then, Ohio State, they played. Ohio State was the team that all season long, if you listen to my kind of podcast all season long, like that was a team that I kept saying, like when we were tracking like the net yards per play, when we were tracking all the statistics, like I was most worried about Ohio State. That bared out. We came to that game. We played our worst game, and we still beat them. And frankly, that happened at multiple points throughout the season where we didn't play quite our best, and we still ended up like beating teams pretty handedly. I think that we were the best team in college football all season long. Period.
Yeah, agreed. I don't think you can dispute that. And I'll say too, one thing I did on my way out, on my flights, I actually like saved all my podcasts, other podcasts that I listened to for the flights out. And so I listened to like all kinds of podcasts on the way out there. I even listened to a TCU podcast. I listened to the Stats of War. I listened to his podcast on the way out there too, because I needed one more. I was out. I'd listened to all my Georgia podcasts. But where I was going with that,
emptied the clip.
I totally emptied the clip.
Omens.
It's right. And what I was listening to, the first one, obviously, was, shout out to, Dog Central collaborators over at 100 Sanford. So I listened to 100 Sanford. It was the first one I listened to on my way out there. And George Foster, he said, he was like, we still have not peaked yet. This Georgia team has not peaked. We have not. I feel like we still haven't seen their best game. And when I heard George say that, I was just like, it's on. So that one made me feel good. And then like the fact that bore out and we saw that and that happened. And I think you're right. Like I'm glad, like you said it very early on in the podcast about the defense, because I was almost worried that we were I had like actually jotted down a note for myself to make sure we talk about the defense from this game, because I feel like it's easy to focus on the offense with 65 points and just hone in on that and talk about Stetson, talk about Brock Bowers and how amazing the offense was. But, this was like complimentary football to the core, where the defense was also lights out. I mean, basically they gave up one play with the busted coverage, and then they scored 2 plays later. Other than that, I mean, holy cow, the defense was just lights out. And it was not only the veterans, it was the veterans and the newcomers as well. We had true freshmen out there making huge plays, getting huge sacks in the game. And Michael Williams, Bear Alexander, the Jalen Walker sack when TCU was going for it on like 4th down late in the game, and we blitzed Jalen Walker off the edge, and he just like obliterated him. I don't know, man. Like we never stopped hunting, right? Whether it was offense or defense. Like the foot was on the gas the entire game on both sides of the ball. And it was incredible.
Yeah. I mean, that's you mentioned Jalen Walker. Like there are multiple points in the game where you point to the statistics and you're like Bear Alexander, Jalen Walker, Kamari Lassiter. Like there's a world where the next team that's up is just as good, if not better, than this squad.
Right.
Like people said that, oh yeah, Georgia's replacing 15 guys from the draft or whatever. Well, I hate to tell you this, guys, but we're probably going to be replacing just about that many but we're also going to be replacing, 10 to 12 like good athletes to the transfer portal as well. So we're looking at like 20 plus departures this
Right.
year.
Yeah.
And then we've got more coming in. Like there are guys that are looking at guys that are coming in the transfer portal. We've got Ra Thomas.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank on
Love
the
it.
wide
Love
receiver
it as
coming
the other
from
receiver.
Montessori. Love it. Love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Like we've got all these other guys that are coming in too. And it's like, just get ready, man. This is the golden era. And Kirby's reloading. Kirby is gonna reload.
Yeah. Yeah.
In Kirby we trust. I think the order of operations from this point forward is I am not going to worry about this team as long as Kirby Smart is the head coach and he is living and breathing. And from there, it just like there's some details like I'm not going to worry about the offense unless Monken and Bobo are not around. Like then I might worry about it a little bit, but if all else fails, revert back to point number one.
Yeah. Seriously. I don't know. So like, I had a couple of things jotted down about some of like the ridiculousness of what we did in this game. So from Josh from Dog Stats, we gained 88% of the total possible yards that we could gain in this game. So based on our starting field position of each drive, we could have gained 665 yards and we gained 589. That is insane. And if you focus that on just the first half, Georgia gained 354 of a possible 360 yards. That is just insane. So I don't know, lights out. The entire thing was lights out. I know Graham was super happy. if you subscribe to Dog Central and you've been reading about his long Todd Monken long con theory, I think he's decided that's a law now. But I mean, Monken was in his bag, Stetson was in his bag, the offensive line was blocking. I guess we could say Stacey Searles was in his bag, maybe. Like everything was clicking. And something not watching it on TV, I've rewatched it now, but remember how much Herbstreit in the Peach Bowl was like, where's Brock Bowers? Where's Brock Bowers? 7 targets, 7 catches for 152 yards, 58 of those after contact and a touchdown. I mean, every time Stetson targeted him, it was a completion. No incompletions to Brock Bowers. Unbelievable. And then add on that, Ladd McConkey, 5 catches for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. How beautiful was the touchdown? The first touchdown to Ladd.
Art.
It was. I mean, he was so open, and that's the kind of thing where, like, in the stadium, I didn't realize why he was so open, but now that I've gone back and watched the TV copy of it, I mean, the formation, like that's something that we didn't see much. We had McIntosh and Dajon Edwards both on the field, and like Edwards went in motion like a jet sweep, and then McIntosh ran a wheel route, and a guy that we talked about, Tomlinson, is it Hodges Tomlinson? He was the guy in coverage, and he had to choose between Ladd and McIntosh, and he kind of hesitated. And next thing you know, Ladd's wide open and is doing finger guns in the end zone. Exactly.
So I think that's like we put them in positions to make poor decisions all throughout the game.
Yeah.
We schemed around a lot of stuff. I mean, that's like I feel like that play was a play that like Monken must have seen something and seen his hesitation, because he's a Thorpe winner. He was one of the guys that I was most worried about for Stetson. But holy cow, dude. Like, first of all, welcome back, Mr. Bowers. I don't know if the Ohio State game was just like he was sick. Maybe if he's healthy, like, does that game turn out differently? Because it seemed like he was off in that game. I mean, he was certainly there. He certainly made his presence known, but he was nowhere near like the level that we are used to. In this game, we saw the best of everybody. It was a trigger tray TT7. Like, these white men are dangerous, and that's what it was the entire game long. And it was a statement. It was a statement of like just spiking the football. These white men are dangerous game. You look up and down, it's like jackpot, Stetson Bennett, Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers. Like, these boys dunked on you.
Shout out to Trigger Tray. It especially felt good. So it felt good for Bowers because of all the questions in the Peach Bowl. It felt great for Ladd too. With I think this came out after we recorded the preview. There was that article in the Athletic where they were interviewing like anonymously interviewing coaches from other teams, and there was a lot of Ladd McConkey slander.
Yeah,
This guy,
slander.
he can't even fill out his pads. Like, I can live getting beat by Bowers, but I can't live getting beat by McConkey. And whew, I mean, McConkey torched them, absolutely torched them.
Torched them. Yeah.
It was
The
incredible.
catch that he made, like I think it was like one of his first catches in the first quarter. I think it was where he like it was a tight throw. It was great coverage, and he just jumped and went after went after the ball right on the sideline. I think it was like a little out or something. But yeah, like that catch was like, okay, they came to play.
Yeah, they did. I mean, all right, so they get the ball, they go 3 and out. We go right down and score with on a Stetson. Hey, this time he kept his own read that he should have on that touchdown.
Exactly.
And holy cow, I mean, he just was just like running free. So what?
He juked the camera out. Juked the camera out.
Oh, yes. I followed him in the stadium. I can claim that. Or I was like, he's gone. Right when he came to the line. And then we got the fumble in the next drive, right? Which again, man, it was just such a good like culmination of all these guys. Like you got Christopher Smith, who got us.
He played lights out.
Got us started off last year, with the pick 6 against Clemson. A program, a career guy that's been here for so long. And again, he showed off that closing speed on that play too, because that end around looked like it was going to be a good gainer, and he just ran him down, knocked it out. And then you get Javon Bullard falling on that ball.
Javon Bullard, another holy cow, big game.
Dude, how about the fact that like he didn't even play in the second half, and he was the defensive MVP of the game.
Yeah. Yeah. What happened? Did he like separate his shoulder or something? I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know what. I haven't seen, and it may be out there, and I just haven't seen it. Something with his shoulder. I don't know what it was. But yeah, someone's shoulder. I mean, no reason to risk anything in the second half of that game, I guess I would say. But yeah, and then I mean, so that got us to 10-0. Then there was the busted, like their only offensive play, basically to get to 10-7. I will say again, like when they scored that touchdown, their fans got loud. They were loud at the beginning of the game, got loud then, and then that was kind of it for them. Because then I think the Ladd touchdown I think was right after that, to make it 17-7. And I mean, at that point, I'm trying to think. Have you on the I mean the ESPN like odds thing is kind of like a flat line, but like I'm trying to think of when it plummeted. Just taking a peek. Yeah, it was a little bit later. It was when it got to 24-7. So 8:13 left in the second quarter. It's 24-7 to Georgia, and it was ESPN had the win probability at 94.7%.
That was that after the Kirby Death March in the second quarter?
I think it was after that. I think it might have been like when that drive ended, maybe.
Yeah.
Because that was the 94-yard drive, right?
Yes. It was 11 plays, 92 yards.
92 yards.
It began at the 14-minute mark. And I think I texted you this, like it was 14 minutes in and it was after that score. So 14 minutes left in the second quarter. TCU punts and the drive ends. Let's see, drive ends 8 minutes and 30 seconds. We got it off the punt. It began at the 14-minute mark, ended at the 8-minute and 30-second mark. It was 5 minutes and 43 seconds, 11 plays, 92 yards, and it resulted in a touchdown that put us up like basically for good.
Yeah, it was over when that happened. And that touchdown,
there were 3 such drives that were like that. But that was the longest drive of the entire game. And we never really looked back, but that was the longest drive of the entire game. That was like, that's why I was joking. Like,
yeah,
I don't know that we're ever going to be able to do that again in this game, but that was a Kirby Death March with 14 minutes left in the second quarter. Like,
yes,
I like that is just like injected into Kirby Smart's veins, like injected into my veins, injected into your veins. Like,
yeah,
can I bottle that and sell it? Because that is just. Whew.
Well,
I need a cold shower watching these stats, Jim.
well, and the way that drive ended, that was it was like just a quarterback sweep to the left. And we had like multiple guys out there. So Broderick Jones like pulled out to the left. And then Kendall Milton was also out there. They were like his two lead blockers. There was no one to block. Like there was already no one there. He had two blockers. Kendall Milton didn't touch anyone until he was already like 5 yards deep into the end zone. Then he finally was like, "Oh, here's a guy. I guess I can like touch him a little bit."
What's up, dude?
Yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable. But
yeah, man, yeah, that was it. That was all she wrote from that point forward.
Yeah,
as if it wasn't any indication prior to, but yeah, dude, there's just nothing else you can say about this. It's just you just point to this game, and I'm glad it was a blowout in the national championship because we heard so much hype. I mean, I don't know how many national champions have had to go through that many Heisman candidates in the season. We went through CJ Stroud. We went through the Heisman runner-up.
Mm-hmm.
We went through Hendon Hooker, who ended up, what was he, like fifth or
he
something?
He was fifth.
Like that?
Yeah, he finished right behind Stetson.
Right behind Stetson. Yeah. We played our best games against the best teams, and like I just can't even underscore like what a statement this was for this team. And I have a feeling you're going to see some guys start to commit. You're going to see some guys like that are going to look at this and say Georgia's setting up quite nicely for any position that is of need on this team. I have a feeling that they're going to have a lot of comers, comers for holes that we're going to potentially fill over the next couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. In that first half, there was something that I texted you that I kind of want to walk back a little bit. I think I missed something in the stadium. Shocking. When Duggan threw the first pick, so he was throwing a deep ball to, I'm blanking on his name. Number one. He's their number one receiver.
Johnson.
Yes, Johnston. Yeah. And then so he throws it to him, but it got intercepted by Bullard. And I texted you and I said, Duggan ain't it, man. One was wide open. That's what I texted you. What I failed to realize was how under duress Duggan was from Jamon Dumas-Johnson. Jamon Dumas-Johnson on that play. I mean, the pressure, and that's the thing, right? Like I don't know if this is what we talked about, right? Where we were saying like with Stroud, we didn't think he was going to run. And so maybe we didn't have a plan for it, or maybe we had a plan and it wasn't a good plan or whatever. He was just better. But like that we were hopeful that the coaches were going to have a plan for Duggan because we knew he was going to run and we know he's going to move around the pocket. And, a lot of the things he had done in the past was like just like backpedal, then throw, and it would work. And like, we didn't let that happen. I mean, he was under duress all night. He did not have a clean pocket and that affected him. I mean, like that guy was wide open on that play. I mean, he was totally wide open, but the pressure affected him. The throw sailed a little bit. It should have been a little bit more to the middle of the field. It wasn't. And that gave Bullard the time, to get in there. And then a heck of an interception. I mean, it was basically like one-handed. So I wanted to, again, I was kind of like knocking on Duggan live watching the game, but I feel like I wasn't giving the credit to our defense of how they affected him. So just wanted to call that out.
I would say you're probably not too far off based on everything that I've seen. I don't know if you've watched the complete game, but like from an early point, I think someone tweeted this like in the beginning of the game about how dialed in Stetson Bennett's eyes looked in this game. When you're watching the game, go back and watch like the beginning of the game. Just look at Stetson's face when he's executing this offense. Like the guy just looked completely dialed in. I know we got the Stetson fade and all that stuff, and the stats definitely back that up. I'm so glad that he did that one last time.
Yes.
Hopefully he keeps that up when he gets drafted, because he's probably going to get a call to come to the NFL. And Kirby Smart was lobbying him. I'm getting a little off track, but Kirby Smart was lobbying that someone give him an opportunity to play. And I wouldn't doubt him. Like at this point, like we might as well just let this story play out and just let's go win a Super Bowl. Go win a Super Bowl MVP. Like let's just completely just put an exclamation point on this Disney movie. And unfortunately,
Man.
we're probably gonna have to wait for that to play out to get the full story. And I selfishly, as a Georgia fan, I hope the story kind of ends here. But like for him, like dude, just go ball out. Like I'd hate for this to be like a New England Patriots end game, but like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I feel like he's earned at least a shot. He's earned at least a shot, and I mean, and that's what you need in the NFL. If he gets a shot, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know what he can do. I mean, yeah. All right. I guess we can.
Well, so I'm gonna go back. Let me go back to what I was. My
Okay,
point
we
that
can
I
talk
was
about
making.
Stetson later because I have a Stetson
We
thing I
have,
want
a
to say.
Stetson, we have a whole
Yeah, maybe we should probably just do a
segment.
we should probably just do a Stetson podcast.
This is now a Stetson Bennett podcast.
Weird Stetson Bennett stands.
But yeah, go back and watch the beginning and watch like Duggan, sorry. He his eyes, like he just looked, I don't know, he just had this like deer in headlights, like oh look, like my normal, it's like a boxer or someone like that like tries to roll back and like throw your hardest punch and someone blocks it, or you know, like that the movie where like someone just grabs that fist like that's coming right at their face and they grab it and you're looking at them like, oh, that was my best shot. Or you landed a punch on someone's chin and it's like, oh, this is the best that you got, like ha 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 ha.
Yeah. So
That's what it felt like. That's what it felt like, man. Like Duggan, he didn't have the, like as soon as he saw that, like I feel like that it was over. Like the game was over. And
Are
I
you
think
saying the moment was too big?
the moment was too big. I'm not really an athlete. It's too big. And you know, maybe to a certain extent he did piss down his leg.
Right.
But I don't know how fair, like it's kind of unfair, I guess, to a certain extent. Like, I mean, their 1,300-yard rusher was out of the game.
Oh, well, here we go. Here we go with the injuries. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, I mean, like he never was a factor, so like you can't really say like, oh, if he was. But they had this guy that came in. DeMercado was averaging just as many yards per carry, if not more, than he was. So, and he got shut down. They averaged 1 point something yard per rush or something like that. 1.3 yards rushing.
Can I give you a wild stat?
Okay, give me the wild stat.
TCU had 36 net yards rushing. We almost doubled their rushing yards with points.
36 net rushing yards. They lost more than they gained.
Oh man.
5 sacks. 5 sacks, like that. I don't know, man.
Well, so that was the thing. What I was going to say with Duggan, like, you know, like the first drive 3 and out. I feel like, you know, I mean, we just came out there and we kind of smothered him. He, you know, then he looked okay at one point, right? Like, you know, second drive it was the fumble in the end around. He can't control that. Then the next drive, he had the long pass. Although I will say that was an underthrow. On the busted coverage, like it probably should have been a touchdown, and Duggan underthrew the guy, and that allowed Bullard to get back into position to make the tackle, to make them have to run 2 more plays. And then I think it was whatever the drive was that he threw the pick to Bullard. Like he was playing okay up until a point. It was when he took that huge sack. Like when we got to him that first time, and he was kind of like tried to like step up in the pocket, and he was like he hit a wall. And I mean, we got him like pretty good. Like I think it was Michael Williams hit him first, and then Beryl Alexander came in too. And I don't think he was the same after that sack. I think that changed things. And that's where getting home, you know, and getting that sack early can make such a big difference. And you know, like we had talked about all year, like, you know, maybe we've got, you know, like, is the secondary as good as last year? Like maybe not, but pressure could be the great equalizer. And I think it was here. But on top, I also think the secondary was pretty dang good in this game. I mean, like Kelee Ringo, you didn't even hear his name. And you know, like you didn't hear Kelee Ringo's name, you didn't hear Malachi Stark's name. You know, like I mean, they just weren't giving things up. I mean, it's incredible.
I think to a certain extent, the reason you didn't is because number one, we were getting so much pressure on him. Number two, I feel like Malachi Starks with the first game of the season, that first interception that we had at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I feel like that was basically like a statement to teams, because I don't know that he's really been challenged like at all. Like people just it goes back to that when UGA has the has the safety or the cornerback that like this is like D-Bake, the D-Bake argument.
Yeah.
Like he shuts off an entire side of the field. If you shut off an entire side of the field access to a passing game, like that really eliminates things. And I feel like Malachi Starks kind of became that at the early stage. So he wasn't really challenged much.
Yeah.
Ringo, I feel like that to a certain extent, like Ringo, these guys they feasted on these long broken plays, right? Like someone missing or whatever. So like we kept things in front of us. I feel like Ringo being on the boundary, like Duggan wasn't really like a boundary passer. He was just like he feasted on people breaking down, right?
Yeah.
And we just didn't break down. We kept everybody in front of us. You weren't going to get an explosive play on us. You're not going to. I mean, they got one, right? Like you maybe get one, and I feel like that. I think it was it Trey or someone in the text thread was like, Fran Brown's going to clean that up, and they're not going to be there. None of that's going to happen again. And they were right. It did not happen again. I feel like that was an error on. I think it was Bullard that mixed that one up. Like when they were trying to do a switch, they tried to do it too late, and it ended up being a big play. But yeah, I don't think that Duggan is a. I don't think Duggan's it. I don't think you're wrong in that assessment. I don't think Duggan's it. Yeah. But also, it's hard to play football when you have elite athletes covering your guys like White on Rice. And and by the way, you also have to deal with like 5-star athletes trying to tackle you and kill you.
Yeah.
And I did see a lot of what we talked about. Like there was a lot of spies happening.
Yes,
and
there was.
I actually like was thinking like while we were watching that game, like, man, this looks like a different game plan than what we deployed against Ohio State. I do feel like that had this game plan been deployed against Ohio State, it might have been a little bit different, because that spy, I feel like, changed a lot. Like we had a guy just like hanging out, just waiting for him to bust out, and he never busted out. But even if he did bust out, like we were going to catch him. And had that been the case for the Ohio State game, I don't think that game is very, very close. Not to mention the fact that literally everybody had their worst game. Kamari Lassiter looked like a totally different player.
Yeah, I agree.
And he's another guy that's young. Like he's coming back. Like
it's a young. Yeah, I mean, it was a. That's the crazy thing, man. Is this was a young team. This is a young team. I can't like. I still can't believe. I mean, like I can believe. That's okay. So I expected to win this. Like I expected to win this game, right? Like we expected to beat TCU. We predicted Georgia to win every game as we're approaching every game. So as it wasn't unexpected at that point, but it's the 12-year-old me, 13-year-old me. And 12-year-old is probably a bad example because we were decent in 1992. 10-year-old me, 20-year-old me. Like when we were in college. Like, can you like fathom? Like, it's hard to fathom that we've done this. That we've done something that literally has never been done before. This is the longest winning streak in the history of Georgia football. It's tied for it at 17 games. First team to ever win back-to-back national championships in the college football playoff era. I did go back, John. I listened to not the whole thing. I listened to the first few minutes of our review from last year because I wanted to see what we said. We won the first of our lifetimes, or first of mine that I could remember, and the actual first of yours. And you and I actually talked about last year something that I had forgotten. So Alabama, every time Alabama had won the CFP, they made it to the championship the following year and lost every time.
Wait, repeat that.
Alabama, every time Alabama won the college football playoff championship, they advanced to the championship game the following year and lost it every time.
Every time, yeah, I did. That was. So we actually bucked a trend.
Exactly.
We bucked a trend, yeah.
Yep.
For any like defending playoff champion.
And so when I dropped that stat on you in last year's review, you said, "Well, hey, here's to Alabama and Bama on that next year." So you were Nostradamus on that
I
one,
was
huh?
Nostradamus. I should have put all my bets down. I wish I had a little bit of more propensity to gamble, like some of our degenerates on the Dog Central text thread. But um, I've yet to build up that much courage.
Too funny. Too funny. All right. Why don't we take a quick minute to remind everyone that season 3 of My God, a Podcast is presented by Oxia Time. And as I'm saying this, I want to also shout out to John Canaris. So John Canaris is the founder and owner of Oxia Time, and I was able to connect with John and meet up with John in person at the game. So at halftime, we were actually sitting like fairly close to each other, and so we kind of like split the middle and said, "Hey, let's just kind of, let's meet up halfway." And it's pretty funny because we were both like walking around, and I was looking for him, but I wasn't actually quite yet to the spot I thought I was going to find him at. And I heard him. He yelled my name. He saw my I Got a Podcast hat and was able to see me from afar. So that was pretty cool. So I had a great halftime chat with John. And so a couple of things I want to point out. Some pretty cool stuff is going on. So first off, if you were at the game, if you've got a program from the game, I want you to open it up and look in that program, because there's a full Oxia Time advertisement within the program from the game. So that's pretty cool. Also, the honorary captains for both teams received an Oxia Time watch. So I think it was LaDainian Tomlinson, right?
LaDainian Tomlinson and Matt Stafford.
Yep, and Matt Stafford. So, and I know Stafford is getting the blackout Georgia watch. So
good selection.
Exactly. Very, very nice. So for this year,
of course, Stafford gets the blackout watch. Of course.
Right? Oh, well played.
It's almost like the players really like the blackout.
Man, how about that's omens right there. That was an omen that I didn't even think of pregame, because we already knew that. So little inside baseball. We had actually already seen the pre-design. John was kind enough to share it with us of what it would look like if Georgia were to win. And I kept like avoiding saying that because I didn't want that to be bad luck by saying it on the show. So now that Georgia is national champions again, there are 3 new Georgia national championship watches that you've got to go check out from Oxia Time. 2 of them are available at oxiatime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. And there's a third watch. I believe it is that blackout watch that is available exclusively through the CFP through their website. So if you go to collegefootballplayoff.com and go check out their store, you will find the blackout watch there. So thanks to John, thanks to Oxia Time for being the presenting sponsor of season 3 of My God, a Podcast.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm jealous. I'm very jealous. You guys should have done like your watch.
I know
a watch link up picture or something.
I know we definitely should have. I had mine on. So that was my bad. That was my bad. We didn't have a whole lot of time. It was kind of halftime, but got to meet and greet, have a nice chat. It was a lot of fun. That was pretty cool.
That's awesome. John's great.
Absolutely. And John, he was very helpful with my mom getting the watch for my dad. My mom got my dad a watch for Christmas, and there is a personal touch with Oxia Time. John was very helpful making sure that my mom got the watch on time to give it to my dad. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm trying to think. Oh, there have been a couple of sorry Carters, and I had something in my head that I forgot to say. So I saw the Smith brothers at the tailgate, Daniel and Michael.
Oh yeah,
John wasn't able to make it, but it's pretty funny because Michael said he wears his Sorry Carter t-shirt all the time. I had to pass that along to you. I'm not sure if I told you that. So
I wonder how many questions does he get about it? Like, what does that mean?
Right. Oh man, it's too funny.
Because I feel like I get a lot of questions when people, like, when I wear it out and stuff. Like,
what is this?
Because a lot of folks know that, like, I have a son named Carter. They're like, what does Carter have to do with your podcast?
That's awesome. I guess, do you want to have a little, actually, okay, so I was just mentioning halftime. So something that did happen at halftime, did you see the Pollock comment that he made, like, right in front of Saban when he said, like, Georgia has taken a hold of college football with Saban sitting right next to him, like the look on Saban's face. Have you seen that?
Oh my gosh, I have seen it. I have seen it, and it is glorious.
Oh man. So I just had to call that out. I guess we could talk about Stetson for at least a little bit. I've got a couple of things. So let's look at some statistics. In 4 college football playoff games, Stetson Bennett is 78 of 115 for 1,239 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 1 interception, and 4 offensive MVPs. If you add and just say postseason games, he's been named the offensive MVP of 5 straight postseason games. So you've got both CFP games last year, the SEC championship this year, and then both CFP games this season. It's the mailman has been on just an absolute tear. So those statistics I got from Pat Forty's article that's in Sports Illustrated. I highly recommend you read it. It's an excellent article.
It was good.
It was amazing. This one's from ESPN Stats and Info. Stetson is the 3rd quarterback to rush for multiple touchdowns in a BCS or college football playoff championship game, joining Vince Young and Craig Krenzel. So some pretty good company there.
He hit the Patrick Mahomes stat in the first half.
So here's my question to you, John. I can't believe you just said that, because the next thing I had jotted down was to ask you, is the Mahomes stat now the Stetson Bennett stat?
Oh, that's a good thing. That's a good point. I guess as soon as he hits that stat in the NFL, we can change the name.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. What was it at? 250 yards passing and a rushing touchdown? I think that's the stat. That's that benchmark, right?
Yeah, I think so. Although I think that's the stat: 250 yards passing and at least one rushing touchdown.
Okay.
I guess that's the magic Pat Mahomes stat. Which, I mean, how funny is that? Like, we've been comparing Stetson to Patrick Mahomes like literally all season, and everybody's been talking so much trash about Stetson. Like, I can't even, like, talk about, like, what a story, man. I texted, if there's anybody out there that's listening, like, I want to talk to Leland Barrow. Leland Barrow is the guy that he pointed out in, like, multiple interviews after the game was over or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Leland is like his handler. Like, I guess that I've seen him a lot, like, on the stuff, and I'm so glad that he, like, pointed him out and like shook his hand, like called him out, like, said that Leland is the one that drags him to all these interviews and stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He's always, like, right there off his shoulder, right, in post game and everything.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't want to go so far as to say, like, he's his personal assistant, but, like, he's the guy that handed Stetson the cigar after the game, came running across, and like Stetson leaned over and picked up the cigar from Leland. Like, I don't know. Like, I want to talk to that guy, because I bet he's got some great stories about Stetson.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, at this point, like, if you're not, if you're still questioning Stetson at this point, like, that's on you.
Like, it really is. It really is. I mean, even here at this podcast, like, a few years ago, we were questioning, like, what are we doing here? Like, and when JT got hurt, and, like, it was like, this is really the best that we've got. Like, we were on that train, and frankly, like, I don't feel so bad about it, because Monken and Kirby have been on record that they were wrong about him.
Right.
And now we literally have moved from Dwan Mathis as the starter to Kirby Smart lobbying for Stetson Bennett to get a shot at an NFL.
Yeah,
that's how far it's come. That's literally how far it's come. I mean, I don't know if it's, like, the full breadth and depth, but, like, you remember preseason, like, Dwan Mathis, it's like, he was like, yeah, he's going to be the guy, and, like, oh no.
Dude, we were excited about Dwan Mathis in our first ever episode of My God Podcast for the Arkansas preview, or I was. So it's, I mean, I would say we were hopeful. That's okay. Much better said. I will say, like, but when Mathis got pulled in that game, we've gone off the rails, but that's okay. We're two-time national champions. We can do whatever the hell we want. Sorry, Carter. I remember when Mathis got pulled, I got a one word text from my dad, Stetson, exclamation point. Like that was it. And then my reply was like, the mailman, question mark. I was just like, I was shocked. I feel like you weren't as shocked as I was when that happened, from what I recall. But I don't know, to go from there to here, where today, Stetson filmed a new Raising Cane's commercial. Shout out Will Kaplan and British Bulldog. Like the fact that we've come from there to here. I mean, what a story. And I just hope the Stetson hate. It certainly was not gone before the national championship game. I listened to on 960 The Ref on the morning show with Logan and Dave. They have Mike Griffith on every Monday morning. And I listened to Mike Griffith on the day of the national championship game. Before the game, he was still talking about Stetson, like basically like that it was Stetson's fault that we quote unquote almost lost Ohio State, and that the only the way for the path to lose to TCU was for Stetson to keep throwing interceptions, and he's this old, he should know better to do these things he's doing against Ohio State. And so listening to that and then seeing Stetson do what he did, just had a pretty good feeling. So I'm quite interested. I'm going to listen to him one more time and see what he says. He made a comment at one point about, like, imagine if Georgia had CJ Stroud, what Georgia would be like. I don't know. You can't do any better than winning 2 national championships back to back. It's like, what the heck, man? Like, I don't know. I mean, which brings me to the whole, like, kind of what JT, the Dogfather, had asked us last week. Like, was Stetson the greatest Bulldog of all time? I mean, he's in the pantheon. I mean, he's up there. He's up there with Herschel. I mean,
he's on the mountain. He's on the Mount Rushmore mountain at this point. I would say yeah. Like, period, end of story. I would say yeah.
I mean, we don't have anyone who's ever won more than one national championship at Georgia. Not a single player, and not that he's the only player, but he was the quarterback of both teams, and he came through in the clutch. We needed him the most in the fourth quarter of the two most difficult games of that tenure, against Alabama in the championship game last year and Ohio State in the Peach Bowl this year.
I'll tell you this much. Like, there's several factors that are going to come into this, but like, if you don't like the Stetson Bennett love, or never liked Stetson Bennett, you better get used to it, because that's a marketing story that people can get behind. It's a marketing story that the coaching staff is for sure going to be leveraging and using. It's a great story. The other thing is that I feel like it's the best story that we have right now, and it's going to be something that you're going to hear more and more. Herschel Walker, I feel like, for better or worse, has become more of a polarizing subject.
Yep.
As of late.
Yep.
Maybe that will change later, but at this point, like, to quote Jamari Salyer, 1980 who?
Yes.
And honestly, like, I feel like that Buck Bellew is probably going to be the big loser here, because people have talked about Buck like he was. People have talked about Buck for forever, and now it's going to be like, wait, Buck who?
Right.
Buck who?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like, he's cast quite a shadow over all of the former alumni. I mean, Stafford was coming up to him after the game. It was like people were talking about the goats, and I'm like, I feel like Stetson's a bigger goat than Stafford, guys.
Oh man, absolutely. I mean, that's where people will come in with like the talent thing or whatever, but I mean, Stafford's college resume has got nothing on Stetson.
I think it'll probably set in for people when that movie drops, and UGA has its own Rudy moment.
Stetson is definitely better than Rudy. I think we can say
that. I mean, I was just about to say that the beauty of this, what this movie was ultimately going to be, and I really hope that someone somewhere, and if Disney doesn't make it, then someone out there in UGA world will. I mean, Josh has got connections, right?
I was just gonna say, we at least know a camera.
Exactly. I mean, they're gonna make this movie at some point, because it's just so intoxicating. It's literally like the American dream, right? so at some point someone's going to make that movie and it's going to be fantastic. So there's a couple of sports movies out there, like you got the Rudy and you got the guy from Clemson. That
Mhm.
story didn't end with the national championship, I don't believe. Or it certainly didn't end with back-to-back national championships from what I recall.
Yeah, definitely not.
So it's a much more compelling story is what I'm saying. And UGA is going to have that out there. Like you got Syracuse with the Express. Let's see what else. What are some of the other like? Can you think of any other like football movies that
College football movies? Yeah, no, we get
I mean, I guess to a certain extent, like it'll be like a real life version of the program that's not as dysfunctional.
Nice. Oh man, yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, so I don't know if if you can't appreciate what he did now, I can't help you. I'm kind of flabbergasted if that's the case for anyone. So,
right,
cool. Well, I'm sure we'll have plenty of offseason to talk about Stetson as well. I don't know if you've seen. We do have updates on coaches over unders. Let me run through those quick, and I've got a something that Coach pointed out to me in a text that I want to bring up to you. So in this game, John, much like how the Georgia Bulldogs peaked and had their best game, we both had our best coaches over unders this week. You went 7-1, and I went 8-0.
Ooh.
So, as much as like we were laughing at each other and making fun of each other about like fading or not fading and copying each other, we were just going with our feelings, and our feelings were correct. So, so you hold the lead 78-42. I still trail you 74-46 on the season. What Coach pointed out was that he actually sent us season over unders for the season preview, and that like those couldn't be tallied until the season was over. Technically. And I had totally forgotten about that. He's like, we still gotta add the season ones. I was like, I was like, I don't know how John's gonna feel about this. He's gonna be like, I thought I won.
Shenanigans. We've been tracking this all season long. Now you throw in the end.
Oh man. So we'll see what comes back from that. I thought that was hilarious. So shout out to Coach Chillbill. Coach, thank you. As always.
What I hear you saying is that I take the regular season.
Oh, there you go.
I won the SEC championship.
That's perfect. I think that sounds right. Oh man. I don't know. I'm just like I'm still on cloud nine. Like I said, I can believe it from this season, but it's on the whole, like the completeness of winning back to back and it not happen. It's been a long time since that's happened. What, 11 and 12, I think, right? Was Bama went back to back. 11 and 12 was the last time, and that was pre CFP. This just doesn't happen. This doesn't happen a lot. So
yeah, and we had a shot to. It came down to one play. Like it's kind of funny. Like we Alabama or whatever. Like when they got their second championship there in 2012, it came down to the last play in the SEC championship to put them in the national championship game, and they blew out. We all knew that whoever was going to get there. I mean, there was a meme out there, like it was like a tiny little insignificant leprechaun and two like huge juggernauts that were boxing, and like the line underneath it was like, "One of us will be with you in a second."
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. So like that has very much 2012 vibes on how we have now overtaken Alabama in that conversation. And someone's talking about it, and there was a stat that was out there about like how Alabama compares to UGA or whatever over the last like several years, and it's like I looked at it and it was like the one big difference is like all the national championships, all the first round draft picks, and all these kinds of things about how Alabama is such a bigger team than Georgia or whatever. And it's like, well, what if you removed all the years that Kirby Smart was there? Like, what does that look like now? Because we're 6-7 years deep into this conversation with Kirby Smart at UGA. So like what? Like at some point that narrative is going to have to shift, because I don't believe that Saban has done as much without Kirby Smart than when he did with Kirby Smart. And that dichotomy I'm hoping that the narrative starts to shift from the Rick comparisons, which like hit me next year with the Rick comparisons, guys. I hope that the conversation shifts from the Rick comparisons to like, well, wait, is Saban as good as we think he is, or was he as good because he had this guy?
Man, I like that. Oh, I love it.
It's kind of like the Bill Belichick. Like when Tom Brady left, it was like, well,
yeah,
can Bill Belichick repeat it without Tom Brady? And the answer so far has been no.
Right. True.
On both accounts.
yeah, no, for sure. I wanted to call it a couple of Kirby things that happened in this game that I feel like he's usually most of them, or two of these three things, happened only because of the blowout. The fact that he like had the presence of mind to sit there and call a timeout and have curtain calls for multiple players is not a very Kirby thing. As someone who's always like so hyper focused on winning. And I think that shows what those players mean to him. That's a lot. Like that's a big deal for him to have done that. The Stetson one actually kind of led into the light up SoFi, by the way, which I'm not sure if that, or at least that's how I remember it. Because because the way it played out, like when it went to the fourth quarter, everyone had their phones lit up, and like they did the Redcoats couldn't play Krypton Fanfare because there was like something going on in the stadium, like there was an ad or I don't know what it was. Maybe it wasn't an ad. It could have been like a charity thing for all knowing. I'm being a bad person, but something was happening and we weren't able to do it as the fourth quarter started. Now it was like a minute and a half later that it happened.
So that actually tracks. I actually thought that was strange. So I didn't watch the hometown feed for the game. I watched the normal feed, but in my reviews and all of like the trying to like do the background, like, hey, let's rewatch this. I did the hometown call for Scott Howard because that number one, I wanted to hear all the calls and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I noticed that in the fourth quarter, I was like, wait, they're doing light up the stadium, like not when the fourth quarter starts. And I remember seeing the players, like when the fourth quarter rolled around, Kirby Smart put up fours. Because the camera had Kirby on the view or whatever, and I was like, I don't hear the sound. I don't hear the. And then later on, the players started holding up fours, and so that I guess that makes sense because I thought that was weird.
It was funny because Chris Fowler actually like kind of misinterpreted a little bit, and he was like, because I've rewatched. I actually haven't fully watched the hometown. I watched the ESPN copy first, and Chris Fowler made a comment about that the fans were like bowing with their lights on their phone for Stetson. And I was like, well, like not exactly right, but like it was close enough. That's fine. That's fine. I'm not gonna hold to him, but yeah. So that's how that happened, and then it was Jalen Carter, Robert Beal, Keely Ringo and Christopher Smith, right? I think those four came off and got a curtain call. So I don't know, that was really cool. That was really cool. The other thing is I wanted to call out because something that I'd always was kind of bummed about last year. Kirby never got I'm going to say Powerade. Kirby never got a Powerade bath last year. Because if you remember, I think it was Cook and Zeus were trying to give him one in the Orange Bowl, and he like waved him off and was like, "No, like we got another game. Get that thing away from me." Right. And then like with the way the national championship game ended, like they didn't do it. They
sideswiped him.
Yeah. So they got one. Well, yeah, but so they got him this time. I mean, they kind of got his shoulder, I guess, but at least he got one. So that was fun.
They didn't get him good. Let's just say that.
he got away from a little bit.
So let's add to the preparation, the Gatorade bath practice. I imagine had they practiced it, it would have been executed flawlessly.
Yeah.
We'll have to put that one on the team on that one. I will say, like to your point, like about the uncharacteristically Kirby Smart or whatever. So I don't know if this has been like an evolution of this season, but like, and maybe it's just maybe it's just a byproduct of having the hometown feed that I've watched multiple times. So like I haven't finished the whole like celebration and all that kind of stuff on the hometown feed. but like I've watched pretty much the whole game on the hometown feed, which was really funny. I don't know if you've seen it, but like the hometown feed that ESPN had when it first started, I saw a little bit of chatter about this on Twitter, like about how Muschamp was getting like a lot of video time. I thought it was
Mm.
towards the end of the game, but apparently at the very beginning, like Muschamp was like the camera was zoned in on Muschamp for an uncomfortable amount of time. Like, guys, like this is not Kirby Smart.
This is like,
Like,
that's
number
funny.
one, like why do we think that this is Kirby Smart? Like, it doesn't look anything like Kirby. I don't know what happened, but yeah, like they were zoned in on Muschamp, which was funny because you get to see like everything. I'm curious, like how many steps Kirby Smart has in these games because
Yeah.
dude, he was constantly moving, like just constantly moving, walking around, walking. Like I saw him, like he was walking back into the benches. Like he was always constantly walking around. He was always coaching. He was always involved, and it was fun to watch him kind of do that thing, like zeroed in.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that there were not a whole lot of courage. I mean, I guess when you're beating a team 65-7, there's probably not a whole lot of reason to. Although it is kind of funny, there were not a whole lot of Kirby rage strokes, and I feel
Yeah.
like we've reduced the number of Kirby rage strokes as his tenure has gone on. So maybe
Right.
we should all like take those rage strokes, like just soak them up because it feels like they're not going, they're going
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. Seriously.
But he did have a rage stroke in the fourth, like in the third or fourth quarter. Like I remember, I remember thinking, I think I texted you. Or maybe,
You did.
maybe I texted.
I've got the timestamp. You sent me the timestamp. I got to go look it up. That's on
Oh
my
yeah,
list.
because
That's on my to-do list.
I was sending you timestamps. I was sending you timestamps for the gifts.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know. I don't remember what the timestamp was, but it was late in the game, and we were way up, and that's like Kirby rage stroke.
I was
There he is. You can
right.
take the rage stroke out of Kirby, but you can't take the Kirby out of the rage stroke or whatever.
I was gonna say when you're saying like how many steps does he get? I feel like he's channeling his inner Vince Dooley with that because that's how Dooley was. Dooley was always walking around the sideline and kind of kicking his leg out and all that kind of stuff. Which on that I did want to say, our fraternity brother David, he listens. He sent this to us a while ago. This is one of those other things that I kind of filed away because I don't want to say because I'm like I like to pretend like I'm not superstitious, but I am.
I'm not superstitious, but
Just
I'm
a little suspicious. So he had come up with a name for this back-to-backs should they happen. And so now that we have done back-to-back, he wanted to call it the Dooley double.
Ooh, I like
so
that.
One for Vince Dooley to enjoy in the twilight of his life, and then one in his honor. So I love
print the t-shirt stairs, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I love that. Thanks, David, for sending that in. That was a good one. So he even said we could take credit for that, but I'm not going to take credit for that. That was all David. So
that's too good.
That's pretty cool.
That's too good.
And I almost lost it saying that. I thought I could make it through this one without getting emotional, and I got a little emotional there. Sorry.
I couldn't tell. I'm glad you reminded me of the Dooley side of this. The university put out a video today, and we capped a GIF for it, which we'll probably bust out for this episode.
Yeah.
But there was a corollary of connect. I'll quote Kirby. There was a connection.
Well done, John.
with the Dooley story and the Kirby Smart story. The university put out a video today that had like clips of Dooley doing basically the exact same things that Kirby Smart does, and I thought that it was just so perfect because Kirby's always jumping. Like I don't know what he's a spry guy.
Hey man, he was all SEC, man.
Yeah. But anyway, there was a video clip of that we have a GIF of this with just Dooley jumping, but then they bookended it with Kirby Smart doing the exact same thing in the national championship game, and I just thought that was just chef's kiss.
That was amazing. And then the fact that I'll tell you when I did get emotional. I mean, night before the game, we had been out and about all day on Sunday. My sister and I with Adam and his brother, and met up with some other friends, the Greasons, for dinner. So we were all over like Venice Beach and all this stuff, doing all this, and multiple people had sent me like hey, like this is the hype video on Sunday, and we were all out doing things. So I wanted to like have time to sit down and watch it, and so like Sunday night we're back at the hotel. My sister and I were about to go to bed, and I was like, oh shoot, I never watched the hype video. So I got it out and we sat there and watched it, and like right at the beginning when it was like you realize it's narrated by Vince Dooley, I was like I started crying.
Yeah, dude.
I lost it, man. That was well done by whoever puts those videos together. It was incredible the way they spliced together all of his various speeches to do that. It was incredible.
I think isn't it like a Smeek or something like that?
I'm sure Mitchell is loves the fact that you credited him for that, but I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I don't know who does it now. The person
like
who used to do it is gone.
okay.
I think it changed folks. I think the guy left, but I could be wrong. I should know that.
I'm pretty sure we follow, or at least I follow the video production folks because I like to try to get the inside source on that one.
Yeah. I want to mention a couple of things that happened after the game really quick, and then we can talk about whatever you want before we wrap. But so you had mentioned
this could be the longest episode ever because I could keep talking because I've got a couple of other things I want to talk about.
Oh, okay, I'll do mine really quick. You had asked me to get you some confetti, and I did get you some. But my sister and I basically got like lost in the stadium trying to get down to the lower level, trying to get because I wanted to get like a lot. Again, this one like I feel like I was better prepared because like last year. I tried to do that and I was like stuff in my pocket. I actually brought like the dry cleaning bag from the hotel so I could stuff it and fill it up with confetti, but I couldn't get down low enough. So I got enough for us to have some. But while we were doing that, I ran into Mac. I can't remember if I told you this or not.
No.
Who's some people know him as the guy doing the like kind of sideways fist pump in the Kentucky game last year, and there was like a GIF of it. It was pretty famous. Like as we were going to commercial break, that's a friend of mine. We went to the Notre Dame game together, etc. So ran into him like totally randomly, and we're like and started hugging. So that was cool. But then I will say it was a bit of a nightmare getting out of the stadium after that. We kind of gave up on the confetti and left. We ended up walking back by the tailgate. And like we actually ended up running into Bobby was there, B Dizzle was there, and Pup Dog. They're all there post game. And Greg was there. And that was when I ran into Marler. So I did want to shout out. So I got to meet Chris Marler, Vern Funquist in person. He's actually quite nice. I probably talked to Chris for probably like a half hour or so because we both ended up. My sister and I were trying to get an Uber, and so we're like, let's just get further away from the stadium because it was so crazy. And Chris was trying to get away from the stadium too, so we ended up walking together for who knows how long. We had a good time, so it was a lot of fun. And then I smoked my victory cigar and I think you had one of these, but you may have already smoked it in the opening game against Oregon. Bobby Wilson brought some Buffalo Trace cigars, and he was handing it out to a few of us, and I had one. I held on to that puppy all season long. And that was my national championship victory cigar. So shout out to Bobby for providing me with that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually held on to mine as well. I smoked it I smoked it as a part of celebrating the SEC on our last episode. I talked about it. Like I went and hung out with my neighbor, and that was like what we were going to do with it. So we smoked him after the SEC championship game. But I did smoke. I did smoke a cigar that I got for Christmas from my brother-in-law. Shout out to Austin. He works for a company called J.E. Dunn in Atlanta. It's a construction company, and I guess that for their Christmas party they had hand-rolled cigars that were made, and so he gave me a hand-rolled cigar from the Christmas party that they had, which is interesting on a couple of levels. Number one, it was a fantastic cigar. It's probably one of the best cigars I'm not a smoker like aficionado. I basically just listen to what John and Bobby tell me to smoke, and my buddy Carlos. But this was great. The other thing, the added bonus of it is that there's a ton of Auburn people that are a part of J Gun. So I was like celebrating just lighting Auburn folks on fire, basically.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, that's I remember I was smoking. I called you. We FaceTimed.
That also happened while I was in the bowels of the stadium trying to find where I was going.
Yes, and I think that I wasn't able to reconnect after that. But I will say that shout out to British Bulldog, who was quite a trooper. I don't know if I told you this or not, but after I couldn't get in touch with you, and a British Bulldog and I had talked about like we were going to do like a pregame, and he had some unfortunate events like pregame, so like we weren't able to do a little pregame kind of conversation because I had asked him like, "Hey, who are you going to watch the game with?" And he was like, "I'm going to be watching it alone." And I was like, "Well, that's bullshit. Like we're gonna sorry, Carter." I was like, "Well, we're gonna do that." And he had some unfortunate events happen. I won't go into, but then afterwards, I called him and I wanted to make sure that he had someone to talk to because I know exactly how he was feeling because I wanted to have someone to talk to as well.
Nice.
So, but yeah, so I ended up talking with Chris for quite a long time. I mean, it was like 4 or 5 in the morning or something like that where he was. And
so yeah, seriously.
Like, talk about a trooper.
Yeah, seriously. That's cool.
Yeah, we had a good chat. He had cheeseburgers. We also had cheeseburgers at the Powell household. Much ado about that one on the Twitters after our last episode.
Yes.
So yeah, we had cheeseburgers,
awesome.
and we talked about the cheeseburgers, and it was a fun time.
And you set off fireworks. I don't know because I have a video of that.
We did. We went and set off fireworks. I used the cigar to light the fireworks.
Okay, I missed that part when I watched the video. I did not put 2 and 2 together. And that's funny.
That's why it took so long.
I was kind of wondering.
Yeah. You're like, why aren't you using the blowtorch that's literally sitting right there? And I'm like, well, because I wanted to light it with the Victory cigar.
Oh, that's funny.
And my wife was also like upset about that because it took so long to light them. There was a gap in the explosions, and she was like, "The gap is what woke me up."
Yeah, that's funny. Sorry, Lindsay.
sorry, Lindsay. Exactly. Yeah, we set off the fireworks. Everybody tried to stay up. Carter and I were having a good old time. Everybody passed out. I could probably post some pictures of that, but everybody passed out, which was just how that game went. But when the game was almost over, I was like, "Hey, are we gonna go set off fireworks?" And they're like, "Yes."
Oh man!
So we rekindled. So now it's a Powell tradition that we shoot off fireworks after we win national championships.
Man, that's awesome. I love it.
A couple other things, Powell traditions. So like before the game, we had, like I said, we cooked cheeseburgers. We got a lovely serving tray from Austin's family for Christmas that we utilized. Austin, FYI, I'm going to have to get a new pan to have the new championship year put on it. So this is garbage now.
Yeah, right.
But my wife like went around and asked like all the kids like, "Hey, who do you think's going to win? Like, what do you think the score is going to be?" Like that kind of thing, just to make it a little fun for the kids. And then we were going to give whoever won like a Starbucks gift card. So it was like a little bit of gambling involved too. So whatever.
Nice.
Before the game, like I basically tried to give like my estimate from the episode because I was trying to be conservative. Not that I was trying to be conservative. I was trying to be realistic, right?
Right.
As the scores go around, I can't remember what Carter said. It doesn't matter. Like the biggest one that was the funniest one was my youngest child probably threw out the biggest omen of the entire evening. When we asked my 5-year-old Camden, "Hey, what do you think the score is going to be?" She said 100-0. Georgia's going to win 100-0.
Love
and
it.
Sure, if that wasn't the closest scoreline.
Oh, that's amazing.
Although Lindsay was pretty close too. I think that technically Lindsay won because she was not like over like
I was gonna
you
say,
know.
were you doing Prices Right rules?
Yeah, it was Price is Right rules. At
Okay.
least
Okay.
she was interpreting it that way.
Right.
But yeah, I
That's
think Lindsay
funny.
was actually closest. I think she had like 40 something to 13 or 14 or something like that. So anyway,
Nice. Yeah, I know there
I
was
thought that was funny.
there was bean dip at the Wood household back here. I know actually, so Ella made bean dip.
Hmm.
Although I'm told Lily helped a bit with like opening things. There's a joke we got back, but because Kim was like, Ella, tell Dad who made the bean dip. Which now I told Ella, I was like, I mean, that was the best game we played. I'm pretty sure you have to make the bean dip every game now. So, and then I got to enjoy it. That was my dinner when I got home Tuesday night from LA. I ate leftover national championship bean dip. Was waiting on me when I got home. They saved a little bit for me, so that's pretty
I
sweet.
love it. You had a little planes, trains, and automobiles moment.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. Now, whatever, we're off the rails. Might as well keep going. My flight home got canceled out of Long Beach, so we had like a fire drill where like I they had rebooked me for like Wednesday to get home. And I was like, well, that's not going to work. So I ended up being able to get rebooked on a flight. It actually kind of worked out better for me because I ended up on a direct flight to Charlotte out of LAX. So I was able to make. But like my sister and I had rented a car, and like all this stuff. And like the weather was like horrible. I was like, I'm just going to return the car to LAX, and why don't you just take like an Uber back to Long Beach? So that's what we ended up doing. So we all made it back, like on time. I actually got home earlier than expected because of that. So it ended up not being horrible, other than my sister and I had to split up a little earlier than we expected. But wasn't a huge deal. But I was kind of freaking out for that little bit of time where I thought I was going to have to stay an extra day. But made it.
I can only imagine the over analysis that was happening in this moment.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So no, that's not as good as the over analysis of my sister and I like trying to decide what to wear to the game, because I like way overpacked and I had way too much stuff. And it was like, what should I wear?
Of course you did.
Should I wear this or this or this? And so what we ended up doing, like, which by the way, like, cause you were making fun of me with all the layers. It was cold. Like it was cold. It was cold there, man. And like I wore my red starter jacket and my sister wore my black. It's not a starter jacket, but it looks like a starter jacket. My parents got it for me as a kid. They gave it back to me a couple of years ago. They found it. Still kind of sort of fits me because clothes were huge in the 90s. And so my sister wore that. So we had it on like kind of like alternating starter-ish jackets. Like I had on a red one, she had a black one. And it was pretty funny. It was a hit at the tailgate though. Everyone was like, oh, look at the brother sister.
Yeah, seriously. That's awesome.
Cool. It was fun. That was the most overanalyzed thing, was what to wear to the game. Even more so than the flight.
I wouldn't expect anything less from the Wood family.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm taking that as a compliment.
It is a compliment. She's probably got years worth of red and blacks too.
Oh yeah. I am the most ridiculous one though, as far as Georgia gear paraphernalia, which I know Hunter appreciates. Hey, the fact that Hunter liked my pullover, so that felt good.
It was a good pullover.
Yeah, that was a Panda Christmas present, so that was good.
Oh man, what else can we talk about here? Oh, Mattress Mac. We didn't.
Oh my god,
how Mattress Mac lost a lot of money on this game.
He did lose a lot of money.
Just checking in on that Mattress Mac conversation.
Oh man, we like to go off the rails. I was gonna say I'm sure there's something I'm thinking I'm forgetting, but like, I think we usually do like a season kind of recap. Anyway, so we can regroup and do that here in a little while, and then who knows, maybe we need another victory lap. I don't know.
We're gonna do victory laps. We're gonna try to get some. We definitely need a couple of victory laps on this one on the off season. But if nothing else, we'll get together and talk about bourbon and just like regale and all that was the back to back thus far. Let's run it back to back. Like might as well just set the world on fire.
Yeah.
I'll one thing that I didn't mention, I feel like that we just kind of got too off the rails, but like TCU, I'll combine two conversations. So
okay,
the hope that TCU had after they scored their first touchdown, like you said that they were so loud and they traveled well or whatever.
Yeah.
They had a lot of hope, and I'm going to connect the dots on like the SEC Shorts pregame thing, which just made me so angry. Like SEC Shorts like retired hope from UGA, right? And then for whatever reason, the Alabama fan that is that runs SEC Shorts decided that he was going to bring back hope and bring her into some sort of relation with UGA. And I feel like that was I don't know, it made me angry. And I'd like to think that anger is what manifested itself with the team. That energy was out there with the team. But I feel like hope should have been with TCU because they were hopeful. They were hopeful in the game. And I'll leave you with the Shawshank Redemption quote. Hope is a dangerous thing. Hope can drive a man insane.
I like it.
And I feel like that hope is what they were probably feeling in this moment. They had a Heisman Trophy runner up. They had this magical season, and we just crushed our hopes and dreams like the juggernaut that we are.
Yeah, absolutely. To pile on SEC Shorts, they go and they bring back hope in that episode, and then there was no reference to hope in the final one in the post game SEC Shorts. So
yeah, no kidding. And by the way, like I don't know, the final SEC Shorts of the season was just a big womp womp to me.
I'm gonna say, to me, I've kind of moved on. I'm all in on Coach 30 and Matt Mitchell. Go check out Matt Mitchell. He's on Twitter. He's on TikTok. He used to be, I'm not sure if he was ever part of SEC Shorts, but some of those other offshoots thing. They used to have like a Southern Y'all or something like that. He was part of that, and he has his own thing now. His are a lot funnier. So
I haven't seen. Has he done one for the national championship? I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, my sister sent it to me today. It was pretty good.
Oh dang! I need to go check that out because I do like his. I usually like his videos. I also like the pre-game. There was a who's the guy that does like the.
I know who you're talking about.
He's a new guy. He's a new guy. He's like he's all season long. He's been making fun of like what teams call their mascots or whatever. Like
right,
okay, you guys are in charge of picking the name. What do we got? Like. Horned Frogs, like he had the whole thing. Like I thought that was great.
It was amazing. He actually had some good facts about the Horned Frog that I feel like we omitted in the preview episode. And that like the Horned Frog, A, it's a lizard, and B, it like shoots blood from its eyes, or it can. It's capable of doing that. I'm trying to find it because I know my sister sent me something from that guy too.
It's gonna bother me. What was his name?
All right, Josh Mancuso.
I was about to say it's like a Mancuso or something like.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. His I don't think he's in one post game. But his Georgia TCU, it was amazing.
Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah, he's good. Ooh. Well, it's pretty funny. Like, when we had Lamar and George on, and we were talking about like that we had never picked Georgia to lose a game since the podcast started, but then we caveated like when we started it. And then George was like, "You guys picked a good time to start a podcast." Couldn't agree more. I mean, dude, what a ride it's been. I'm still kind of in shock again, not over this game. I expected to win this game, but just like, we made history. We made history. We made college football playoff history. I don't know, man. Like, legendary connection. Kirby Smart.
I'm just saying.
Stetson Bennett. Unbelievable.
I'm just saying. Before my got a podcast, there were no back-to-back national championships.
I mean, look, you're not lying.
Here we are. Look at us.
My dad would say that's a factual fact.
It's a factual fact. And here's another factual fact. And I guess this might be a good place for us to jump off or whatever. But
yeah,
like I said, I could probably continue to talk about this for forever. But you've got one game. We win the opener next season, and Kirby Smart has set the record for the most consecutive wins at UGA.
Yep.
And frankly, you look at next season, I know we're going to talk about it. We'll have the preview and all this kind of victory lap. We'll be talking about it later, but that schedule sets up pretty nicely thanks to the SEC and all the shenanigans.
Yeah. Yep. For sure. For sure. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, definitely more to come on that. So, yeah, man. Well, I guess we can kind of close with just thanks to everyone who's coming along for the ride with us. Everyone we've had on the show this year, over the past year, if you've come on, I want to shout out Dwight as well. I saw him at the tailgate. We've had him on. And just anyone who's interacted with us. Like when it got to the moment where people are like tagging us and asking us to do gifts, and I just it's cool to have you guys be part of a community with us. You talk about not being able to imagine things. When we decided to do this, I don't think I could imagine that those kind of things would happen. That people other than us, first off, I wouldn't have known that you would have come up with "Sorry, Carter," and that other people would have even started saying it. I don't know, like random little things like that. It's just it's been a blast. It's been a lot of fun. So thanks for coming along on the ride with us.
I feel like to a certain extent we've also like helped call out the hopeful situation with Kirby Smart. I'm just saying. Like,
right. Fair. Oh man.
Yeah,
good.
I agree. It's awesome. People talk to me about like, hey, what do you got going on with the podcast and all this kind of stuff. And it's like people don't understand. Like when I start telling them like how many followers, how many downloads, all those kinds of things. We've seen the progression, and we're very appreciative of everybody coming along this ride with us.
Yeah, for sure. So if you're listening right now, hopefully, hey, maybe you're on the way to the parade. Parade Saturday.
Oh, yes.
Maybe you're on the way there. Maybe it's after. Either way, if you're on the way, hope you enjoyed the parade. If it was after, I hope you enjoyed it. Past tense. So
yeah, we're not able to go to the parade. We're heading to Tennessee for soccer this weekend.
We can't either. Both of our kids. Most of our kids have stuff going on here in North Carolina, so we're not gonna make it either.
Enjoy it, people.
Absolutely.
Send us all the pictures.
That's right.
Let us live vicariously.
For sure. All right, man. Well, this was fun. What a way to cap off the season. Back to back. Straight up incredible. And we'll be back soon to kind of put a bow on the season as a whole.
Yep, absolutely. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.